6 years had passed since humanity first learned they were not alone in the universe. Now, at the edge of known space, the largest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The combined fleet of human, loyal alliance, and Draxid ships faced the splinter faction that had awakened the predecessor megastructure, a massive ring-shaped construct that dwarfed even the largest battleships. All ships in position, Lieutenant Nathan Hayes reported from his tactical station on the UES Vanguard. Admiral Elaine Morgan nodded. Begin the approach. The megastructure pulsed with energy. Ancient weapons, designed to eliminate entire species, were powering up. If activated, Earth would be the first target. Dr. Samuel Wright, who had been on the Pathfinder when they first met Zoril, now worked with Dr. Alicia Reeves. Together, they had made a breakthrough. The structure contains dormant predecessor eyes, Alicia explained to Admiral Morgan. If we can communicate with them, we might be able to shut down the weapons. While the main fleet engaged the enemy ships, a smaller vessel broke away. On its bridge, Nathan Hayes made his final preparations. "I'll get you as close as I can," he told the science team. "After that, it's up to you." The small ship took heavy fire as it approached the megastructure. Nathan skillfully evaded most attacks, but a direct hit damaged their engines. "We won't be able to pull away after we drop you off," he told the team. "I'll have to crash into the docking bay to get you inside." Dr. Reeves looked at him with understanding. "You always were too brave for your own good, Nathan." The ship plunged toward the megastructure, absorbing devastating hits. With his final maneuver, Nathan crashed the vessel into the target, allowing the science team to enter the ancient facility. He remained at the controls, ensuring their safe passage with his life. Meanwhile, the Bennett brothers had made their own breakthrough. On the bridge of their ship, Kyle and Scott worked frantically on a new technology. "If we can combine the predecessor frequency patterns with our disruptor technology," Kyle explained, "we might be able to neutralize the ancient weapons." Scott nodded. "It's our only chance." Their ship pushed through enemy lines, taking heavy damage. They needed to get within a certain range for their device to work. In the heart of the megastructure, Dr. Reeves and Dr. Wright found what they were looking for: a central control chamber. Ancient symbols covered the walls, similar to those Dr. Warren had studied. "The interface responds to human thought patterns," Alicia said, placing her hand on a glowing panel, just like the other predecessor technology. The megastructure hummed as dormant systems awakened. Alicia established communication with the ancient eyes, explaining the situation in urgent terms. Outside, the battle reached its peak. The Bennett brothers' ship broke through the final defense line and activated their device. A wave of energy spread outward, temporarily disabling the weapons systems of the megastructure. In that moment of vulnerability, the predecessor eyes made their decision. The megastructure powered down its weapons and instead emitted a different kind of energy, one that disabled the ships of the splinter faction. The battle was over. The combined fleet had won. In the months that followed, the galaxy entered a period of uneasy peace. The Draxid hive mind, having fought alongside individual humans, began to evolve. Some Draxids developed individual thoughts and questioned their species' obsession with genetic purity. Admiral Morgan led the formation of a new interstellar organization, the Galactic Concord. For the first time, humans, former Alliance members, and even Draxids worked together. "We faced extinction and survived," Elaine said at the Concord's first meeting. "Now we must prepare for what comes next." On the edge of the galaxy, monitoring stations picked up faint signals, the first scouts of the Void Collective. The threat the predecessors had feared was approaching. But this time, the galaxy would not face it divided. Humanity had changed everything. Different species now stood together, ready for whatever came from the darkness between galaxies. The greatest change wasn't the technology or the politics. It was understanding that diversity, of thought, of biology, of culture, wasn't weakness. It was their greatest strength against the challenges to come. 5 years had passed since humanity first learned about the Galactic War. In that time, Earth had risen from an isolated world to a major power. The once captain, now Admiral Elaine Morgan, stood on the bridge of Earth's newest flagship, surveying the assembled fleet. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said her communications officer. Elaine nodded. It was hard to believe how far they had come. The vessel she commanded now, the UES Vanguard, made the old Pathfinder look like a rowboat next to a battleship. "Begin the operation," she ordered. The Earth fleet, now joined by loyal Alliance members, moved toward their target. They had spent months preparing for this moment. On a different deck of the Vanguard, Kevin Russell worked frantically at his console. As the lead developer of integrated human predecessor technology, he had created systems no one thought possible. "The power core is stable," he reported. "All predecessor systems are online." Nearby, Commander Scott Bennett watched as his brother's work changed the nature of the war. Scott commanded the first ship fully equipped with the recovered ancient technology. He was only 31, young for such responsibility, but Earth needed everyone with talent. "The Draxids won't expect what we're bringing," Scott said confidently. Kevin looked up from his work. "It's not just the Draxids we need to worry about now." The fleet approached Taz City, where both Draxid forces and ships from the traitorous Alliance factions had gathered. Intelligence from Sofia Garcia suggested they were activating ancient weapons platforms, technology meant to contain humanity if they ever tried to leave their solar system. "All ships, prepare for engagement," Admiral Morgan announced. "Remember, we face 2 enemies today." The battle began suddenly. The Vanguard activated its new systems, and a shimmering field surrounded the ship. Enemy weapons fire dissipated harmlessly against it. "Predecessor shield technology holding at full strength," Kevin reported with pride. The Earth fleet moved with a coordination that shocked their enemies. Ships linked their targeting systems in ways the aliens had never seen before. Each vessel covered the other's weaknesses. On the enemy side, confusion spread. The Draxid hive mind, usually so unified, struggled to adapt to the human technology. The traitorous Alliance ships fared no better. "They're retreating," Scott announced as the enemy lines broke. But Admiral Morgan wasn't celebrating yet. This was too easy. "They're regrouping." She was right. The enemy forces pulled back, then combined into a single massive formation. Draxid ships flew alongside vessels from species that had once been their enemies. "They formed a temporary alliance against us," Elaine realized. A communication request came through. To everyone's surprise, it originated from the Draxid command ship. This was unprecedented. The Draxids had never negotiated. "Put it through," Elaine ordered. A strange, multi-voice sound filled the bridge. The Draxid collective spoke as one mind. "Human collective," they said. "We propose temporary cooperation. The Rogue Alliance faction represents greater threat. They activate predecessor extinction protocol." Kevin looked up sharply. "Extinction protocol? What are they talking about?" The Draxid communication continued. "Alliance Splinter Group has located predecessor weapon designed to eliminate species. Their first target, Earth." Silence fell across the bridge. Elaine faced an impossible choice. Could they trust the Draxids, their sworn enemies for 5 years? Or was this a trick? "Admiral," Scott said quietly, "if they're telling the truth." Elaine made her decision. "Tell the Draxid command we accept their temporary alliance. Against a threat this great, we need all the help we can get." As human and Draxid ships began cautiously coordinating, Kevin received strange readings from his console. "Something's happening," he said. "The predecessor systems are responding to some kind of signal. It's coming from beyond the edge of known space." Admiral Morgan looked out at the stars. "The Void Collective," she whispered. "They're coming, aren't they?" Kevin could only nod. "I think this war was just the beginning." 4 years into the war, the conflict had grown more complex. What began as a battle against the Draxids had evolved into a web of secrets and hidden motives. Dr. Patricia Warren stood in the ruins of an ancient alien structure on a distant moon. At 63, she was older than most field researchers, but her expertise in alien archaeology made her essential to this mission. These markings match what we found on the other sites, she told the soldiers guarding her. They were made by the same species. Dr. Warren had been studying the mysterious civilization that had once placed Earth under quarantine. The ruins called them the predecessors, an ancient race that had vanished thousands of years ago. "What does it say?" asked one of the soldiers. Patricia ran her fingers over the strange symbols. "It's a warning and a promise." Back on Earth, Admiral Daniels met with Ryan Cooper, a former civilian pilot who now commanded a fleet of retrofitted cargo ships. Earth needed all the vessels it could get, and civilian ships had been converted for war. "Your ships aren't as heavily armed, but they're faster," Daniels explained. "I need you to transport Dr. Warren's team to these coordinates. The regular military routes are being washed." Ryan looked at the star chart. "That's deep in contested space." "I know, but what Dr. Warren found could change everything." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Grace Howard worked in a secret facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. She specialized in the newly discovered predecessor technology. The devices were beyond anything humans or even the Alliance had developed. "It responds to human thought patterns," she explained to her team, "but not to alien ones. That's why the Centaurians could never activate it." A communication alert sounded. Dr. Warren's face appeared on screen, transmitted from light years away. "Grace, I found it. The Central Archive. The truth about why Earth was quarantined." Hours later, Earth's leadership gathered to hear Dr. Warren's findings. The room fell silent as she revealed what the predecessors had left behind. "They quarantined Earth not to protect the galaxy from us, but to protect us until we were ready," she explained. "The predecessors faced a threat they couldn't defeat, something they called the Void Collective. Beings from beyond our galaxy." Admiral Daniels leaned forward. "Are you saying there's something worse than the Draxids out there?" Dr. Warren nodded. "The predecessors studied thousands of species. They identified something unique about human cognitive patterns. We think differently. We see possibilities where others see only rules. The predecessors believed humans might someday develop the ability to defeat this coming threat." The revelation stunned everyone. Admiral Daniels turned to Ambassador Wade. "Is this why some Alliance species fear us?" "They knew this." "Some did," Wade confirmed. "They found predecessor records centuries ago, but kept them secret. They've been watching Earth for generations, debating whether to destroy us before we could fulfill the predecessors' expectations." Lieutenant Howard added, "The technology in these ruins was left for us to find when we were ready. The Draxids have been destroying these sites to prevent us from accessing it." Ryan Cooper, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "So this war with the Draxids is just the beginning," Dr. Warren finished. "The quarantine was failing because the time had come for humans to join the galactic community. The predecessors calculated that we would need exactly this kind of conflict to accelerate our development." As the implications sank in, the gathered leaders realized they faced a terrible choice. They could focus solely on defeating the Draxids, or they could prepare for an even greater threat while fighting enemies on all sides. Admiral Daniels made her decision. "We continue the fight against the Draxids, but we also start preparing for what comes next, and we watch our allies very, very carefully." The galaxy had indeed changed, and humanity stood at the center of a storm that had been brewing for thousands of years. 3 years into the war, Earth had transformed itself. Factories that once made cars now built spacecraft. Children studied alien languages in school. The entire planet worked together with a single purpose: survival. Ambassador Colin Wade sat in the Grand Chamber of the Alliance Council. As Earth's representative, he had the difficult job of navigating alien politics. Today, the mood in the room felt tense. The human fleet has secured the Ta-CD system, Colin announced to the gathered representatives. The Draxids have been pushed back in 3 sectors. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded in approval, but others exchanged worried glances. "We are grateful for Earth's enthusiasm," said a tall, insect-like alien. "But some members of the Alliance have concerns about your rapid expansion." Colin had heard these concerns before. Earth now produced more warships than any 3 Alliance species combined. Human tactics had changed the course of the war. Some aliens saw this as threatening. Meanwhile, on a distant space station, Sofia Garcia worked alone in her small office. As an intelligence agent for the UETC, her job was to monitor Alliance communications. What she found disturbed her deeply. "Another encrypted transmission," she muttered, watching code scroll across her screen. She had been tracking these secret messages for weeks. With each one she decoded, a dark picture emerged. Certain Alliance members were planning something aimed at Earth. Sophia sent an urgent message to Admiral Daniels. Within an hour, she was summoned to a secure communication room. The Admiral's face appeared on screen, looking tired but alert. "Show me what you found," Daniels ordered. Sophia displayed the decoded messages. "They're planning to contain us after the war. Some are even discussing a preemptive strike against Earth." Daniels' expression hardened. "Which species are involved?" "At least 4. But not the Centaurians. They still appear to be our allies." While this conspiracy unfolded in secret, the Draxids launched a massive counterattack. 3 Centaurian colony worlds were hit simultaneously. The attacks were devastating. Commander Darren Mitchell of the UES Intrepid received emergency orders to assist the Centaurian evacuation efforts. His ship arrived to find one world in flames. "Get those transports loaded quickly," he ordered his crew. Draxid reinforcements could arrive any minute. As refugees boarded the human vessels, Darren noticed something strange. The Draxids had specifically targeted certain ancient structures on the planet. They ignored population centers to destroy these ruins. "They're looking for something," he realized. Back on Earth, Admiral Daniels and Ambassador Wade confronted the Alliance Council with Sophia's evidence. "While we fight together against the Draxids, some of you plot against us," Wade said, his voice echoing in the silent chamber. The council erupted in chaos. Some denied the accusations. Others admitted their fears. "You humans advance too quickly," said one counselor. "In 3 years, you've matched technology that took us centuries to develop. What will you become in 10 years? In 50? The council fractured. Some species still supported humans, while others now openly expressed their fear of humanity's potential. Zorl stood beside the human representatives. "This division is exactly what the Draxids want. We must stay united." But trust had been broken. The war was no longer simply against the Draxids. Human leaders now had to watch their allies as well as their enemies. Commander Mitchell's classified findings added another layer to the growing mystery. The ancient structures destroyed by the Draxids contained technology similar to what had once quarantined Earth. Whatever kept us hidden for thousands of years, Admiral Daniels told her inner circle, the Draxids want it destroyed. And some of our so-called allies know why. As Earth's forces continued fighting on the front lines, they now faced a troubling question. What were they not being told about their own planet's history? And why were both their enemies and some allies afraid of humanity's potential? The galaxy trembled, caught between fear of the Draxids and fear of what humans might become. 2 years into the war, humanity had changed the entire flow of the conflict. What was once a losing battle for the Alliance had become a series of victories. General William Porter stood in the war room of the Joint Command Center, where humans worked alongside aliens from a dozen worlds. "The Draxids are pulling back from these 3 sectors," he said, pointing to a star map. The officers around him nodded in approval. Lisa Reynolds, an intelligence officer who had become skilled at predicting Draxid movements, spoke up. "They're regrouping here, near Epsilon Eridani. I believe they're planning a major counterattack." General Porter trusted Lisa's instincts. She had an uncanny ability to see patterns in Draxid behavior that even the Centaurians missed. Then we'll strike first, Porter decided. Commander Taylor and the Defiant will lead our fleet. In the engineering bay of the Alliance headquarters, Chief Engineer Eric Sullivan worked on a new weapon system. He had combined human missile technology with Centaurian energy fields to create something neither civilization could have built alone. "Will it work?" asked a Centaurian engineer, looking doubtful. Eric smiled. "It'll work. Different doesn't mean wrong." This had become something of a motto for human forces. While their alien allies had fought the same way for decades, humans constantly changed tactics, technology, and strategies. The Draxids, used to predictable enemies, struggled to adapt. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Commander Taylor received his orders. His ship would lead a fleet of 30 vessels to Epsilon Eridani, a star system with a major Draxid outpost. "Dr. Reeves, are you ready?" he asked through the ship's communication system. In her lab, Alicia nodded. "The disruptor is ready for testing. If my calculations are correct, it will temporarily block the Draxid hive mind connection." This mission would be the first large-scale test of her theory. If it worked, they could separate Draxid soldiers from their collective consciousness, leaving them confused and disorganized. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, using technology humans had only dreamed about 3 years earlier. When they arrived at Epsilon Eridani, they found a heavily defended Draxid base. "They were expecting us," Lieutenant Hayes said from his tactical station. Commander Taylor wasn't surprised. But they weren't expecting this. "Activate the disruptor, Dr. Reeves." Alicia initiated her device. Across the battlefield, Draxid ships suddenly began moving erratically. Some stopped completely, while others fired at random targets. "It's working," Alicia exclaimed. "The connection to the hive mind is disrupted." Taylor gave the order to attack. The human and Alliance ships tore through the confused Draxid forces. It was the most decisive victory yet. News of the battle spread quickly. The Alliance celebrated, but in private meetings, concerns grew about humanity's rapid rise. In the Centaurian High Council chamber, representatives from various species gathered to discuss the latest developments. "The humans have been in space for barely 3 years, yet they now lead our most important missions," one counselor said. Another nodded. "Their technology advances too quickly. What happens when the war ends? Will they be content to return to their solar system?" Zorel, now a high-ranking diplomat, defended Earth. "Without humans, we would already have lost this war." "Yes," said an older counselor, "but at what cost? We may defeat the Draxids only to face a new threat." The debate continued for hours. In the end, certain factions within the Alliance began secret discussions about how to contain humanity after the war. Meanwhile, Earth continued to produce ships and weapons at an astonishing rate. The human capacity for adaptation seemed limitless. What had taken other species centuries to develop, humans mastered in months. As Commander Taylor's fleet returned home in triumph, no one suspected that some of their allies were beginning to see them not as saviors, but as a potential future enemy. The galaxy had indeed begun to tremble, not just from the war, but from humanity's unstoppable rise. 1 year had passed since Earth joined the war. The shipyards around the planet glowed with activity as workers built new vessels day and night. Engineers had adapted Centaurian technology to human designs, creating ships unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. Commander Jason Taylor walked through the gleaming corridors of the UES Defiant, Earth's newest warship. His crew was a mix of experienced space officers and those who had never left Earth before the war began. "Commander, Dr. Reeves wants to see you in the lab," said a young officer. Jason nodded and made his way to the science section. Dr. Alicia Reeves waited for him, her face excited. She pointed to a screen showing strange patterns. "I've been studying the Draxid communication signals we captured last month," she said. "Look at these patterns. The hive mind has a weakness." Jason studied the screen. "What kind of weakness?" Their thoughts travel across space on specific frequencies, Alicia explained. If we disrupt those frequencies, we might be able to cut off individual Draxids from the main mind. This was big news. Jason immediately called Admiral Daniels to report the discovery. Meanwhile, on a distant planet called Proxima Centauri Live, Sergeant Frank Miller led his team through alien ruins. They were the first human ground forces deployed to another star system. "Stay alert," Frank told his soldiers. Draxid scouts were spotted in this sector yesterday. The ruins provided good cover, but Frank didn't like the open space they needed to cross to reach their objective. His team carried weapons that combined human design with Centaurian energy technology. "I still can't believe we're fighting on another planet," whispered one of his soldiers. Frank was about to reply when his communication device buzzed. "Sergeant, Draxid ships incoming. At least 5 vessels." Frank looked up at the sky. "Copy that. We'll take cover and—" "Wait," the voice interrupted. "More ships just arrived. They're ours. The Defiant is leading the attack." In space above the planet, the Defiant led a fleet of Earth and Centaurian ships against the Draxid force. Commander Taylor had positioned his ships in a formation no one had tried before. "They expect us to form a defensive line," he told his crew. "Instead, we'll split into 3 groups and attack from multiple vectors." The Centaurian captains had been skeptical of this plan, but they followed Taylor's lead. The battle that followed shocked everyone. The Draxid ships, used to fighting enemies who used predictable tactics, couldn't respond fast enough to the chaotic human approach. In the Alliance Command Center, alien officers watched in amazement. "The humans fight like no species we've encountered," one Centaurian admiral said. "They use random patterns, take unexpected risks." Another alien commander nodded. "It is both primitive and ingenious." The Battle of Proxima Centauri became the first major Alliance victory in years. News spread quickly across the galaxy. The Draxid Imperium, which had never directly communicated with the Alliance before, sent a message to all worlds. The human variable must be eliminated. Back on the Defiant, Dr. Reeves continued her research. She believed that with the right frequency disruptor, they could temporarily separate Draxid drones from their hive mind. Commander Taylor saw the potential immediately. "If we can isolate their ships from the collective, even for a few minutes—" He didn't need to finish his thought. Everyone understood what an advantage this would give them. Admiral Daniels approved a daring mission. The Defiant would lead a small force to capture a Draxid communication hub where they could test Dr. Reeves' theory. As Earth forces prepared for this crucial mission, Centaurian leaders watched with mixed feelings. Humans had brought hope to a war they had been losing, but some aliens whispered concerns about how quickly humans were advancing, adapting alien technology, and changing the nature of the war. The galaxy had begun to tremble, not just from fear of the Draxids, but from the realization that humanity was unlike any species they had encountered before. Admiral Victoria Daniels stood at the window of the United Earth Defense Coalition headquarters, watching workers assemble the newest space vessels. 6 months had passed since Earth learned about the Galactic War. The once peaceful planet now buzzed with military activity. "Admiral, the Centaurian representatives have arrived," said Olivia Martinez, a young woman who served as Earth's diplomatic liaison. Victoria nodded. "Show them to the conference room." In the large meeting room, Zorl and 3 other Centaurians waited. Their blue skins seemed to shimmer under the lights. Next to them stood Kyle Bennett, Earth's top engineer who had spent months studying alien technology. "Thank you for coming," Victoria said as she entered. "We need to understand what we're facing." The main screen lit up, showing a map of the galaxy. Hundreds of stars glowed red. "These are the worlds the Draxids have already destroyed," Zorl explained. 37 different species are involved in this war. Many have been completely wiped out. Kyle stepped forward. "Tell them about the Draxid biology." Zorl nodded. "The Draxids are a hive mind species. They share thoughts across vast distances. They believe all other life forms are impure and must be eliminated. Victoria studied the map. Earth wants to remain neutral in this conflict. We're not ready for interstellar war. Neutrality is not an option, one of the other Centaurians said. The quarantine field that protected your planet is almost gone. The Draxids will find you. As if to prove this point, alarms suddenly blared throughout the building. A young officer burst into the room. Admiral, we've detected ships entering the solar system. They've bypassed Mars defense stations. Victoria's face hardened. How many? 5 vessels, unknown design. They're heading straight for Mars colony. The room erupted in activity. Victoria turned to Zorl. Are these your people? All 3 of Zorl's eyes widened. No. The Draxids have found you sooner than we expected. Victoria issued orders rapidly. Launch the Pathfinder and our 2 prototype defense vessels. Evacuate Mars colony immediately. The battle for Mars unfolded on screens around the world. Earth's 3 ships seemed tiny compared to the sleek Draxid vessels. The colony, home to 5,000 people, scrambled to evacuate. On the bridge of the Pathfinder, Captain Elaine Morgan made a bold decision. They expect us to defend the colony. Instead, we'll attack directly. Lieutenant Hayes looked shocked. Captain, they outgun us 3-1. Yes, but they don't know humans yet, Elaine replied with a grim smile. The Pathfinder accelerated straight toward the largest Draxid ship, while the 2 prototype vessels split off to flank the enemy. The Draxids, expecting a defensive formation, were caught off guard. The Pathfinder fired its newly installed weapons, striking the Draxid ship's engine section. The 2 prototype vessels targeted the smaller ships from unexpected angles. Back on Earth, Victoria and the others watched in amazement as the human ships executed maneuvers the Draxids clearly hadn't anticipated. Your tactics are unusual, Zorl observed. The Draxids think as one mind. They expect logical, predictable defense patterns. 2 Draxid ships exploded. The others began to retreat. They're withdrawing, Kyle said in disbelief. The Mars colony evacuation completed successfully, though the settlement itself was heavily damaged. When the Pathfinder and the other ships returned to Earth, they were welcomed as heroes. In an emergency session, the UEDC leaders met to discuss their options. We cannot stay neutral any longer, Victoria said. The Draxids know we're here now. They'll be back with more ships. The vote was unanimous. Earth would join the Centaurian alliance. Later that evening, Victoria met with Zorl privately. You knew this would happen, she said. You knew we would have no choice but to join your alliance. Zorl's expression was unreadable. What I know is that the galaxy has been losing this war for decades. But humans fight differently. You see options where we see none. I hope you're right, Victoria replied, because everything is about to change. For all of us. The stars glittered against the black canvas of space as the ESV Pathfinder drifted through the outer reaches of the solar system. Captain Elaine Morgan stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen. Earth had finally managed to build ships capable of traveling beyond Mars and Jupiter, and she was proud to command the first vessel designed for deep space exploration. Captain, we're picking up something strange, Lieutenant Nathan Hayes called from his station. His fingers moved quickly across the control panel. It's not one of ours. Elaine walked over to his console. Show me. The screen displayed an object moving erratically, trailing debris. It didn't match any known design from Earth. Get Dr. Wright up here, she ordered, and prepare for possible first contact. 10 minutes later, Dr. Samuel Wright arrived on the bridge, his normally neat appearance disheveled from being woken up. What do we have? We're not sure yet, Elaine said, but it's definitely not human. The Pathfinder moved closer to the object, which they could now see was a badly damaged ship. Its hull was blackened and torn open in several places. It drifted lifelessly in space. Any life signs? Elaine asked. Hayes checked his readings. One faint signal. Whatever it is, it's barely alive. Elaine made her decision quickly. Prepare a rescue team. Dr. Wright, you're with me. The team boarded the alien vessel through a jagged hole in its side. They moved carefully through corridors filled with strange technology and signs of battle. The air was thin but breathable. They found the survivor in what appeared to be the control room. The alien was humanoid but clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue, with intricate patterns across its face. It lay slumped over a console, breathing shallowly. Dr. Wright approached slowly. "Hello," he said softly. "We're here to help." The alien's eyes opened, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle pattern. It spoke, the sounds unlike any language they had heard before. Wright activated the universal translator they had developed for potential alien encounters. It wouldn't be perfect, but it might help. "Danger," the alien said through the translator. "You must prepare." They brought the alien back to the Pathfinder and took it to the medical bay. The ship's doctor worked to stabilize its condition, while Dr. Wright attempted to communicate. Hours later, the alien was strong enough to speak. It introduced itself as Zoral, a diplomat from the Centaurian Alliance. "Your world has been hidden," Zoral explained weakly, "protected by ancient technology, a quarantine field, but it is failing now." "Protected from what?" Elaine asked. "War," Zoral said. "A war that has burned across the stars for decades. The Draxid Imperium seeks to cleanse the galaxy of all life they consider impure, which is everyone but themselves." The crew listened in stunned silence as Zoral explained how an ancient species had placed Earth under a quarantine field thousands of years ago. This field had hidden humanity from the rest of the galaxy, allowing them to develop without interference. But now the field was weakening. "My mission was to find your world," Zoral said. "To warn you. To ask for help. The Centaurian Alliance is losing. The Draxids will find you soon." "Why would you want our help?" Hayes asked. "We've barely left our own solar system." Zoral's 3 eyes blinked slowly. "Because you are different. All our data suggests your species thinks in ways others do not. You may see solutions we cannot." Elaine looked at her crew, then back at Zoral. "We need to take you to Earth. Our leaders need to hear this." 6 months later, the news had spread across Earth. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and a terrible war was coming their way. The governments of Earth formed the United Earth Defense Coalition. Ships were being built using technology Zoral had shared. The quarantine that had kept Earth safe for millennia was failing. Humanity would soon be exposed to the greatest threat it had ever faced. But instead of cowering in fear, people worked together with a new sense of purpose. The galaxy had been at war for decades, and no one had prevailed. But now a new player was about to enter the conflict, and everything was about to change.